So according to everyone else, CM Punk, I guess as of this week, is nothing more than an asshole. He's nothing more than a second-rate superstar. And for that matter, he's not elite. He's not on the level of the elite 1% top, enchilada of superstars that they would find to be called the elite, if you will. I mean, that's what all elite wrestling is. It's supposed to be the top of the food chain, right? And to further illustrate this point, I'm going to show you 3 memes. Well, I'm going to read them, sort of give you an illustration as to what they look like. Okay, so on the left side, it has CM Punk talking into a microphone at that press conference. And on the right side, it has Roman Reigns talking into a microphone at that press conference from WWE's Clash at the Castle, or whatever it was called. And this one shows 5 selling points for each individual superstar. And the first selling point for CM Punk is shoots on colleagues at media scrum. The second selling point for CM Punk is only thinks of himself. The third CM Punk point is that never beat an MMA fighter. The fourth, of course, selling point for CM Punk is that people come to his locker room to fight him. And the fifth and last final bullet point for CM Punk is has to fight himself. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, okay, some idiot made a meme, and, different strokes for different folks. The way I see it, man, you shouldn't be picking on CM Punk. Like, he's literally just standing up for himself for something that someone else said about him. I don't know, it's like he's not picking the fight, he was just finishing the fight. Okay, well, on top of that, these 5 selling points that I just mentioned to further illustrate my point, it has 4.5, and then it has a star emoji beside of it. However, over on the right side, Roman Reigns' side, it has makes journalists acknowledge him at press conference, which, as you knew, as I already told you, the first selling point for CM Punk was that he shoots on colleagues at a media scrum. The first selling point for Roman Reigns seems to be the exact opposite, though. Head of the table and provides food to everyone, and the second selling point for CM Punk was that he only thinks of himself. Never beat an MMA fighter was the third one for CM Punk, and the third one for Roman Reigns is that he beat Brock Lesnar thrice. The fourth selling point for CM Punk is that people come to his locker room to fight him. The fourth selling point for Roman Reigns was that people come to his locker room to acknowledge him. The final selling point for each individual, CM Punk's final selling point was that has to fight himself. The last selling point for Roman Reigns, and apparently he has 5 stars, because they put they put a 5 and then a star emoji beside of Roman Reigns. And then it says, sends his cousins who are Uce to fights. I don't know the new Usos name. I'm sorry. I didn't watch Clash at the Castle or whatever it was called. The next meme that I have for you is a little bit more ridiculous. It's Eva Marie versus CM Punk. Okay, so a few selling points here. If you were to believe everything you read on the internet, right? So, for CM Punk, it has ugly, zero talent, sucks at selling, moves and wrestling, no accomplishments, jobber, walk out on WWE and fans, getting married to a 13-year-old boy. Huh? Getting married to a 13-year-old boy. Okay, this is retarded. I swear. I swear. I thought that these were actual selling points, though. It says can't afford, and it won't move. It won't move. Like, my phone has something in the way that won't move. It's SHA, and then it's covered up. It's not important. You remember how one of the selling points was CM Punk is ugly, zero talent, sucks at selling, moves it. Okay, what is it doing? Ugly, zero talent, no accomplishments, jobber. Okay, well, for Eva Marie, it has hot. She is very pretty, but I wouldn't call her hot. I don't know. I guess the red doesn't do it for me. Talented, great wrestler and seller, personality. Oh, she has a lot of personality, and she was also in the Maximum magazine. She was ranked in the top 100 hottest women of the on planet Earth or something like that. So Maximum Hot 100 on Total Divas. Can afford shampoo. What? Can afford shampoo? I don't understand. It looks like that they're just trying to, like, fill it up with irrelevant shit. Relevant. Apparently Eva Marie is relevant. Loves the fans. Yeah, but they hate her. And this one right here has a picture almost in a frame, and it shows CM Punk at that goddamn media scrub or whatever it was called. It says local man ruins everything. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the internet. Today we will be talking about, in lieu of the so I hate to bring you down off your pedestal, guys, but there was a national tragedy that happened around this time of year, rather, in 2001. And us Americans, we don't exactly celebrate, but we remember this time of year, and we talk about it frequently, especially like during like politics and a lot of things that happen. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to mention it. It's kind of like the Holocaust. I'm almost certain that I'm not allowed to say that, but I don't exactly know if I'm allowed or if I'm supposed to say certain words, but it's basically a very tough time here in America whenever it's mentioned. because an estimated 1,500 to 2,000 people lost their lives that day. Between the janitorial workers, probably the people who worked in the office buildings, who knows, maybe for whatever reason, there might have been people out there actually cleaning the windows, doing that kind of work, thinking, man, my job is really dangerous. And, a plane comes and crashes into the building. I don't want anyone listening to think that I'm making terroristic threats, okay? Like, don't take this out of context. It's not about something like that. So in lieu of this old news, but something that we all remember, the 9/11 terrorist attacks, I decided that it was an appropriate idea to watch a pay-per-view done by WWE that is very, very, I won't say influential, but rather patriotic. It paves way to the whole "We are America." But first, AEW Dark. I watched it this week. I just got done watching the rest of it because I'd watched like 8 matches, I think. Or 4 matches, maybe. And then 4 matches later on. So I just got done watching the last 4 matches. Nonetheless, this shouldn't take too long. AEW Dark from 9/5/2022. Josh Woods and Tony Nese versus Storm Grayson and Brandon Gore. Which Storm Grayson and Brandon Gore were 2 jobbers, so you can guess who won this match here. And for some reason, what's his name? Excalibur calls Josh Woods, I think it is, the quote technical beast, and I put down here that he's ripping off Brock Lesnar, because as we all know, Brock Lesnar wasn't exactly the technical beast, but I mean he was the beast incarnate for the longest time. And he would go by that for the longest time. Also, if you enjoy wrestling videos, then you should hop on over to my YouTube channel, where tomorrow, even though I say tomorrow, this is being recorded on Friday, so I might want to specify Sunday. See what I did there? You're listening to this on Saturday, more than likely. So, Sunday, I will have a episode of a wrestling video game that I played back in the 90s. It's called WrestleMania 2000, and I don't know how accurate it is to the lore of the actual, like, WrestleMania 2000. I don't think it's very accurate, as a matter of fact, because even the set that they use is different. Like, once they get to Anaheim, California, in the video game, the set, the production is very different. You guys will have to see it once I make it that far into the game. I mean, I have the arena unlocked. It wasn't locked, but I can always go back and then kind of like look around as long as I got some dickhead chasing me that throughout the video game. I guess it's not the point. I'm sorry. I've got a severe case of ADHD, and I tend to get off subject at the weirdest times. Lady Luck versus Marina Shafir. And, I gave that first match 1 out of 5 stars. It barely lasted 2.5 minutes. But anyway. Lady Luck versus Marina Shafir. And she calls herself the Problem. I don't really think that if you're a wrestler, or for that matter, like the boxer, if you're in any sports situation, you want to avoid giving your opponent ammo. Okay? In any sports situation whatsoever. Take, for example, the fact that she calls herself the Problem. Okay. So, if I was to do a promo on her, I could completely own her. If she was to call herself the Problem a lot, then I would say something like, I am the solution to the problem. Kind of like, I talked about this one before, but Mike Bennett. Mike Bennett calls himself the Miracle. The Miracle Mike Bennett. And everybody and their mom has made this fucking joke. Every time that I see Mike Bennett go up against like EC3, everyone always makes the same mistake of saying the same thing. Mike Bennett's gonna need a miracle to get out of a match with me. Or to beat me, he's gonna need a miracle. Like, I get it. He's the Miracle. You want to make fun of him for it. Just don't. Just please lay it off. Because it's an overused trope. You don't have to keep saying it. We understand. Please, no more shtick, Like, it's funny, but only so much. Anyway, she calls herself the Problem. And the match, honestly, almost... It doesn't last very long. Like, there's not too much meat on the bones, and for that matter, it's not very... I wouldn't say that it's not very entertaining, but it doesn't... There's a flavor in my mouth, and I want it... I want it to resonate. If it was a longer match, maybe I would have given it more than 1 out of 5, but unfortunately I had to give it 1 out of 5 stars. These dark matches, they seem to just... And I understand, there's like less than an hour, 47 minutes. It's hard to basically put all of that into a wrestling program and then say, hey, go out there and show everybody what you got. I understand to an extent. But please don't call yourself the Problem anymore. If anything, call yourself the Solution. I am the solution. Like, we've got a problem here. And then everybody would look at you and then they would say, yeah, I think that we do. Or you could make the joke, do we got a problem here? And then everybody would look at you. They would be like, I'm pretty sure you're the problem, I don't know. All I'm saying is she's not the solution. Zach Clayton versus Serpentico. And this one was quite entertaining. Because Serpentico is quite the athlete. There were a few times in this match where I was like, there's no way. There's no way. How does he do that? How does he do that? Or, he's so fast. He's so cool. He's everywhere. And I fail to understand how he can see out of that mask. Because so many times have I watched luchadors and not been able to comprehend how they can see out of their damn masks most of the time. I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. If it were a little bit longer, I probably would have given it 3 or 3.5 out of 5 stars. But both men put on a great performance, and I think it was my first time seeing Zach Clayton in action, and he's quite entertaining. Quite the high flyer. Julia Hart versus Misia Kate. And I honestly wanted to give this one 2 out of 5 stars as well. Because it was over in maybe 3 to 4 minutes. But I can't bring myself to give anything less than 3, on average, 3 stars to Julia Hart. Because, and I'm wondering right now what they're going to do with House of Black now that Malachi Black isn't there anymore. Now that he is taking care of some mental health problems. It sucks so much too, and he's getting a divorce. He's getting a divorce from the firecracker that I've come to know as Zelina Vega. Oh my God, this man is so lucky to have someone like Zelina Vega. And I don't know. It just sucks so much. I just hope that he comes back, and whenever he does, he's healthier. He says it was a combination of high stress and everything that comes with a busy work schedule. All the traveling and everything that has to do with the scheduling to one town to another to another to another to another to another to another. I would imagine that would drive anybody insane. It feels like your life is going just so damn fast, and if you can't keep it in under wraps, then it's gonna feel like that your life is just passing you by. But I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I wanted to give it 2 or 2.5 out of 5. It's just the performance of Julia Hart. It doesn't matter if they're putting her in a in a squash match or not. But had it been me, I wouldn't have put her in a squash match. I would have maybe built a rivalry with someone that she had previously faced. Someone maybe made a star out of who she faced last week, Haley Shadows, or for that matter, had Haley Shadows interfere in this match and cost Julia Hart the match, but not. It would take a lot of interference. I wouldn't just have Julia Hart lose clean. I would have her lose and then, the next week on Dark be mad about it or something tell me a story. Please do something other than, oh no, Julia Hart won again. Yay. And then the commentators just sit there and then they're like, wow, we're really seeing a new side of Julia Hart ever since she joined Malachi Black and drank his potion or something like that. They're talking about the black mist that Malachi Black spit in her face or made her drink or something. I'm like, Okay, she's drinking the Kool-Aid, I guess. And our next match, the Professor, Serena Deeb, faces off against Sierra. And I don't think Sierra had a last name. And I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's one of those situations where I've seen Serena Deeb before, and she's performed on the level that she's performed at. Why did they put her? Here's a great idea. You put the Professor Serena Deeb against Julia Hart, right? Seeing as though that you want to have two of these women's matches, and then you put Sierra, who's making her debut, versus Mizia Kate, who's I think she was like 1-3. Could be wrong, but these two who relatively have basically no reputation, and then you make them face off against each other. The people who have the reputation, the Professor Serena Deeb versus Julia Hart, and then we have a wrestling match. Wrestling at its finest. But I guess both of these matches are averaging out to be around 3 stars. Robert Anthony and GPA versus Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn. And this match is basically a squash match because no one knows who Robert Anthony and GPA is, and the commentators bury them too, talking about, "Hey Taz, what was your GPA in high school?" He said, I think it was like a 4.7. I mean, if I'm being quite honest, because you see, I'm smarter than the average bear. You know, nothing gets past me. And then Excalibur was like, "Really? Well, in the grading school system, it doesn't go past the 4.0. And then Taz was like, "Yeah, my point exactly. They had to break mine up into even higher scores. Ugh, you guys are terrible. Get off the microphone." As Private Party ends up winning, almost no problem whatsoever for Private Party to win. See, I thought Private Party was Max Caster and I forgot his tag team partner's name. The Platinum Max Caster, and I thought that was Private Party. So who's Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn? You guys gotta be joking here. For our main event here on AEW Dark, before we start the Great American Bash, and I wouldn't say celebrate, but I would say commemorate those who lost their lives those who lost their lives at the 9/11 hijacking. Whether you were in the plane, or whether you were on the ground, or whether you were in the building. I am so sorry for anyone who had to live through that tragedy, that tragic day. And I'm so sorry that every day that goes by, I'm sure that you live with some sort of PTSD, or for that matter, some sort of some sort of trauma-inducing I don't really know how to put it into words, rather. But and I don't really know what to say. I mean, it's left me speechless, and my job here isn't to be speechless. It's to actually report on what's supposed to be happening here. So I do apologize for the low quality silences. Anyway, Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn versus Robert Anthony and GPA. I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. Was just a squash match for Private Party to take home a small victory, I suppose you could say. Then we get our main event, Ring of Honor World Championship on the line, and during this they showed previews from what's to come this Wednesday, on the side of the screen, and something that I seen on the side of the screen was that we are going to hear from Samoa Joe, the Ring of Honor Television champion, rather. And I thought that was very interesting. I'm going to try to find that promo online, or for that matter, download the episode. Also, we're going to hear from MJF as well. Download the episode online somewhere. That way that I can go back and watch it. And Claudio Castagnoli versus Arya Daivari, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Wasn't that bad of a contest. Matter of fact, it was quite entertaining watching Arya Daivari squirm left and right. Arya kept attacking the leg of hang on, I'll find his name. I kept wanting to call him Klaus, and I don't know why. Claudio Castagnoli. Most of you may know him as Cesaro, and if you don't know him as Cesaro, oh my god, I forgot his name from that freaking YouTube channel that he had, the up, down, down. Well, before that, he was the Swiss Cyborg, and then he was the Swiss Superman, and hard to tell what he is now. He's 45 days as champion as of this date. 9/5/2022. It is 9/9, so if I was to add 4 days, he's 49 days as champion today. When the clock strikes midnight, he will be 50 days in as being champion. We start off our event, and here's something that I found to be very interesting, but that I suppose shouldn't say interesting. It's rather controversial. Well, small tad bit controversial. So, Road Warrior Animal rather, is in this event. So, how can we have Road Warrior Animal in one event and Batista in the same card? Because Animal is literally, his name is Animal, and Batista is the Animal Batista. Dave Batista, rather. So, you tell me how that works. How can we have two animals in one wrestling ring? I call hacks. The Great American Bash 2005. We ring the bell on the Tag Team Championship match, which doesn't maybe get 6 minutes. That's about it. M&N, Mercury, Nitro, and Melina. Whenever I was younger, for whatever reason, I kept calling them M&M. And I would say it like this, M&M, so that, it sounds like the candy or the wrapper, because I thought that I was funny, but in reality, I didn't know that I was saying it wrong. But anyway, Joey Mercury, Johnny Nitro, and Melina. they have a tag team championships match against Road Warrior, Animal, or if you remember him from another company, his name probably wasn't Road Warrior at that time. It was probably LOD. I keep wanting to say Lord of Darkness. Holy crap. Legion of Doom. Lord of Darkness was the Undertaker. I'm so sorry about that. Heidenreich and Road Warrior Animal had a brief run as tag team champions, and I completely forgot about that. One thing that I didn't forget about, though, and I wrote it down right here, was that it reminds me of Edge and Hulk Hogan winning the tag titles, because there was an episode of SmackDown, I think it was, where Edge, for whatever reason, said that he had a dream and he wanted to win the tag team championships with Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and then Hogan agreed, and Edge and Hogan faced off against two other people. I'm not going to say, because I can't remember who it was, but I remember watching highlights from a YouTube video maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and lo and behold, that it was like Michael Cole was talking about how his childhood dream has come true. And it sounded much like, well, that even reminds me of Shawn Michaels. You know, the boyhood dream has come true whenever he first won the championships. But anyway, Animal, a part of the first Great American Bash that took place in like 1975, I think is what they said. And I gave it 2 out of 5 stars if I didn't already say that. It wasn't too long, and at times Road Warrior Animal would no-sell some of the moves that Mercury and Nitro did to him, so it almost felt, disingenuous, like he just doesn't care. He's just there to win championships, and he's not there to at least make it look somewhat competitive. We get the next match on the card, which was Christian versus Booker T, and Michael Cole says that Booker T is 5-1 at the Great American Bash event. Christian implements, however, all of the dirty heel tactics. Thumb to the eye, he pulls the hair, he tries to at least take the front turnbuckle off. He uses the ropes as leverage. He gets in the referee's face. I mean, Christian is just a down, dirty heel. And I would say nobody does it better, but someone later on in this event actually does do it better. But I gave this match 3.5 out of 5 stars. If it were a little bit, longer, maybe, I would have given it, maybe. I mean, the mid card was really good back then, even though we're just on the second match. What do I mean mid card? But I mean, this is what felt like the mid card, because it wasn't for a title, it wasn't for a championship, even though both of these men were in the number one contenders match that they talked about on the last episode of SmackDown that they had. Even though they were in that, is still wasn't for any sort of championship. It felt rather personal, because apparently Christian had been attacking Booker T from behind weeks prior. Then we get an interview with passionate Eddie Guerrero that says he's going to tell Dominic a bedtime story. If he wins, he gets to spill the family secret, something like that. He goes off on a tangent about the fact that he's never been able to beat Rey Mysterio, and it bothers him. So basically, it's Eddie's pride getting in the way. But if you know anything about pride, not only is it one of those 7 deadly sins, but also it's they say that the pride comes before the fall. Just remember that. Orlando Jordan versus Chris Benoit for the United States Championship. And I thought for sure as soon as Jordan came to the ring, they said it was a United States Championship match. And as soon as Chris Benoit's music hit, I thought for sure that this was one of those. So they had a match previous, either it was after or before this one. It must have been after. Benoit must have got another rematch, because the pay-per-view after this one is the SummerSlam pay-per-view, if I remember correctly. Anyway, at that particular event, what they end up doing is Benoit gets his rematch for the United States title, and for whatever reason, Benoit ends up finishing it in like record time. Ends up putting in the crossface and making Jordan tap out. But I just think it's a little bit strange that we've got Road Warrior Animal and the Animal Batista. You know? Somebody else tell me, am I being weird about it, or is it really weird that we have 2 animals in the house? I can't figure out whether I'm going to sneeze or whether my nose is stopped up. Hang on, did I tell you I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars, because both Benoit and Orlando Jordan put on a heck of a performance. And it was a really good match in my views. We get the next match on the card, which was Muhammad Hassan versus The Undertaker. Holy crap. Let me go ahead and stop the presses right there. So, for those of you unaware of what happened years later at some particular event at around this time, which was June of 2005. Now, the only reason that I'm looking at this is because, the 9/11 tragedy, and, I felt that it was appropriate, seeing as though that we will never forget, but at the same time, it's almost like we can't forget, because if we do forget, then apparently there are other reminders that, I don't want to say America will fall again or anything like that. I'm not trying to make terroristic threats or anything of that nature. What I am trying to do is say in a very light-hearted way that we can't forget about the past, because we have to learn from it. Okay, so anyway, this was from June of 2005, if I remember correctly. April, May, June. No, it was from July 2005. My fault. Thought that July was the 7th month. Yeah, it is. For whatever reason, this caught Muhammad Hassan a lot of heat, and they had to kill off the character, basically. And over in London, there was a bombing that happened, and having an Islamic wrestler in America wasn't exactly like something that they were, as the heat grew It didn't matter what sport really that he could have played, but where he was on television and where he was like he like had these guys like dressed up all in ski masks and like really tight clothes and sweaters and camo pants, almost like that they were there to, murder somebody. This match was for the number one contendership of the World Championship, so whoever won the World Championship match, which would be against Batista, the champion, and JBL, which was the main event, but Muhammad Hassan faced off against The Undertaker. Hassan feels as though that he's being disrespected because of his culture, because of what he looks like, because of bigotry, and because of bias. Masked men come to attack The Undertaker, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The storytelling here was somewhat like one-sided. Like, you know how usually they'll show like that one person, like they would show Muhammad Hassan's side, and then after that they would show like a counter side from like The Undertaker, and then he's like, boy, you done dug your grave, and then something of that nature, like make The Undertaker say something, and then, almost like these two are having a back and a forth. But no, in this case, it wasn't anything like that. It was just Muhammad Hassan crying and protesting that there's a lot of bigotry here because he's not from America, because he's an Islamic person, or he's from a foreign country, and us Americans are going to be biased toward him because he's not the same color as us, or he doesn't speak the same language as us, or he doesn't promote the same customs as us. Whatever reasons or reasoning that he may or may not have. But this match was just watered down by a whole bunch of interference, by a whole bunch of masked men that Michael Cole and Taz kept calling the sympathizers, which didn't look like that they were sympathizing at all. They tried to choke The Undertaker with some piano wire. Piano wire is like thin enough to where it'll go through the jugular vein, so if it really was piano wire, I hope that they were careful. But The Undertaker was bleeding from his lip, like almost 5 minutes till the match ended. In our next match, we have Mexicool, which is made up of Super Crazy, Javi, and Psychosis. None of these men do I remember, but at the same time, I remember another wrestling podcast that brought this up. So the name of that show is The Hill Truth with Ted the Hillbilly Hill, if I remember correctly. And he had brought up the fact that, is it the brand or is it the superstars that really you remember or stands out for you whenever you were, watching the show? And for me, I never really watched SmackDown. I was told that I had to choose one show a week and watch it, because my mom got so sick and tired of there being wrestling on the television 3 or 4 days a week, which is kind of stupid if you ask me. But, and yes, I kinda still hold a grudge toward that. But anyway, no. No. But anyway, Blue World Order. Mexicool versus Blue World Order. As Stevie Cool, the blue guy, and Hollywood Nova, I'm assuming that's supposed to be some sort of knock at Hollywood Hogan, go against Super Cool Javi and Psychosis. And like I said, it's hard for me as an audience member to really connect to the people that I'm watching, and I know who Super Crazy rather is, because I watched a few taped ECW things, and well, hardcore wrestling really wasn't my forte back then. There's nothing really too appealing about seeing a guy go through like 3 tables and then get smacked in the head with a chair 15 fucking times after it gets dinked over his body. And I really wasn't sure who Psychosis was either. Or Javi. Maybe I spelled that wrong, but I'm pretty sure they said his name once or twice, and that was about it. And I don't remember the Blue World Order either. Once again, didn't watch SmackDown growing up, so I didn't really understand. And whenever I did watch SmackDown, years later, it took me an extremely long time to really warm up to JBL, the titular villain in the story that we will be looking at later on today. But this one wasn't very entertaining. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I just couldn't find any entertainment value in it. Well, some entertainment value. I won't say that the match was okay, but it just missed every mark, practically. Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio, and if Eddie Guerrero wins, he gets to spill the family secret. But if Eddie Guerrero loses, then he has to keep it a family secret. And the storytelling here was phenomenal, was amazing. It was awesome. You could see the emotion, and I mean the absolute emotion, in both Eddie Guerrero and Dominic. They were both playing so well, and Ray too at times would be like, hey, why can't we just settle this between us, between men? Why does you have to pull my son into this? And you, oh my God, just so many layers of just, hey, there's a secret. Do you want to know what it is? And then the audience wants to know, obviously, because even after the match, they're chanting, spill the beans, or tell us the secret, or whatever it is. But obviously Eddie lies, because Ray ends up winning. Eddie ends up telling the secret, which sets up for their SummerSlam match, which would happen directly after this. But anyway, Ray ends up losing. Eddie ends up spilling this family secret, and that's how we get SummerSlam 2005, where the custody for Dominic in a briefcase match, or whatever it was. The storytelling here, perfecto. Magnifico. It had me in stitches at times, because there were times wherever Eddie Guerrero would go outside and then he would give like Dominic a hug, or a kiss on the forehead or a kiss on the cheek. He would always like make it a point to look over at Dominic. And at the beginning of the match, he's forcing Rey Mysterio to shake Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero's forcing Rey Mysterio to shake his hand. That way that his son sees that him and Eddie are friends. And, you know, Uncle Eddie would never hurt your dad, Dominic. Would never do anything like that. Right. And that's why you came up to him in a playground, you maniacal maniac, and then you told him that you wanted to tell him a bedtime story, but you can't do it until you beat his... You can't do it until you beat his father in a wrestling match. I swear to God, just layer after layer after layer. Just the storytelling here is so good. And we get a bra and panties match. Oh my God. Or the special referee is Candice Michelle. And in case you guys don't know, I said it plenty of times before. Candice Michelle makes my heart skip a beat. So, Melina versus Tori Wilson, it's like less than 3.5 minutes long, and the focus isn't on the wrestling, it's on, and it was fairly entertaining, no doubt, but once again, it's that era of professional wrestling where the women don't get... Where's the women's championship match? Can you guys tell me that? Why was Melina here at the beginning of the card and then delegated to a bra and panties match? Oh, that's right. Silly me. SmackDown didn't have a women's championship, did they? They only had the Cruiserweight championship. Ding dong. Ding dong. I forgot. What a ding dong I am. And if that's the case, why have women show up to SmackDown? If they're going to compete at the highest level, then maybe they should be a Raw exclusive. You know, Monday Night Raw, that's where you come to see the women. And I won't call them the divas. I'll call them the superstars or the women. But nonetheless, a bra and panties match. Like I said, it was a little bit entertaining. I give it 2 out of 5 stars. I almost said 2.5. Because it lasted less than 4 minutes, and there was only like, in this whole entire event, there was only like 2 matches that actually had a backstory, you know, some exposition. That was the Eddie and Rey Mysterio. Like I said, some storytelling there that went really, it slapped really well. Oh yeah, and his name was Hoovy. It wasn't Jovi or whatever I was trying to say. It was Super Crazy Hoovy Psychosis versus Stevie Cool, the blue guy, Hollywood Nova of the Blue World Order, the BWO, versus Mexicool. Anyway, moving on to our main event. Yes, you heard me correctly. After the bra and panties match was our main event. So technically, I guess the women did get some recognition, that being our co-main event. Had it been me, though, just because of placement of card, I would have put the bra and panties match as the opener, you know, and I would have put the tag team match as the second. Christian and Booker T is the third. Orlando and Benoit is the fourth match. Eddie and Ray is the fifth match. I would have taken out that match right there with Mexicool and the BWO and substituted Muhammad Hassan and The Undertaker and our main event would have still stayed the main event because obviously it's for the World Heavyweight Championship, and it is Dave the Animal Batista, or the Animal Dave Batista rather, versus JBL, John Bradshaw Layfield. So JBL, if you don't know, is basically an interpretation of a character who is from Texas, but he moved to New York for whatever reason. He decided it was a good idea to write a book to for whatever reason he wrote a book about how to make millions in the stock market, and he brags about how much money that he's got, he's like, I could buy and sell all of you, except I choose not to because I still have a family to feed. The enduring psychopath millionaire is JBL. But in all honesty, this match could have been a lot better had there not been so many ref bumps, so many run-ins, and the finish was terrible. Okay, so here's the finish. So, for whatever reason, Orlando Jordan, who is the cabinet member to JBL's cabinet, he is also the chief of staff, a role that we've seen played before, or for that matter, has been played after this. I'm not sure whether it was before or after, but nonetheless, the chief of staff, if you'll remember, was Chief of Staff Morley. That's who I remember holding the original position. But that was on Monday Night Raw, and now we're on Friday Night SmackDown. But the Chief of Staff, Orlando Jordan, rolls into the ring. He slides into the ring. He gets into the ring in some verbing motion. And he's got a chair with him, and the referee's just waking up from being bumped. So the referee is on the ground. He turns around and he notices that Dave Batista has a chair, because Dave Batista took it from Orlando Jordan, keep that in mind, and Batista is smacking Jordan with the chair, and then as soon as the referee turns around, he notices that Batista smacks JBL doink right in the head with a chair. So the referee disqualifies Dave Batista. It's so funny. It's so funny. He says, here's your winner by disqualification, John Bradshaw Layfield. Oh my God. What a ridiculous way to win a championship match. But anyway, however, still the World Heavyweight Champion, because the championship cannot change hands on a disqualification or a countout victory. You have to either pin or submit your opponent in order for the championship to change hands. This whole time, JBL's talking a big game about how he can beat Batista and how he's never been beat by Batista. It's so funny to hear JBL, because he's such a good bad guy. You know, he plays the role so well. I don't care if he's from Texas. I don't care if he's from New York. But the storytelling in this one was honestly terrible. There was no sort of exposition, as far as I could tell. No backstory between, like, the history between JBL and Batista, or for that matter, what makes it such a good rivalry between the two, JBL and Batista. They really didn't share any insight about why, other than the fact that it was a championship match happening on a major pay-per-view, why I should care about JBL versus Batista. You know, there was no peel back of the curtain. there was a lot of appeal, but it just needed maybe to have another layer to it, have another element in order for me to basically say, oh, okay, that was a great match. Great contest between two individuals. It was really entertaining. Saying that, though, I'm going to have to give it 2.5 out of 5 stars. Just because of the ridiculous finish. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Mocha. Thank you all so much for joining me. And if you're interested, tune in tomorrow on my YouTube channel. Workout Robert is the name of the channel. And for further information, in case you can't find my channel, or for that matter, you just have questions, please message me on Twitter at P1_Bay. I've been Mocha. You've not been Mocha lately. You should probably get you a Mocha coffee somewhere. And, don't be jealous that my parents named me Mocha, but they didn't name you Mocha. Have a great day, morning, afternoon, evening. And remember, that's a wrap.